tonight, the real goal is for you to just fully understand not only the process of who is coming, but how to make the most of the Fine Art Portfolio Review when you're there. Okay, so first thing, and I suspect a lot of you have been to the site, is that everything you need is through the Fine Art Portfolio Review site. You can access that through the career site, risdcareers.com. However, you can also go directly to it. So it's pretty simple. It's fineartsreview.risd.edu. And when you go there, one of the first things you often want to know is how many people attend this. So it is different than the design review, where we had, I think, 650 students. We typically get about 125 to 140 students. Where we had about 140 design studios, we have about 40 plus museums, arts organizations, and galleries. So the proportion is actually about the same, but that's the turnout you're going to see on Monday. So indeed, you can check out all the participating companies, and if you haven't been looking, this is something you want to do tonight and tomorrow before you register. So at the site, when you click on participating companies, you're going to get this overview. And all the information you're going to see there is completely up to date. Something you might have seen on the design portfolio review, and it's true in the fine art, companies now, not companies, but arts organizations pick which majors they would prefer to see. So if you're questioning whether your major is an appropriate major, you will see a listing of majors. I will tell you for illustrators and for those from the illustration department that just in the realm of fine arts, often they're not thinking of illustration directly related to even other majors like painting, which they should. I know coming out of the illustration department that the applicability of everything from painting, printmaking, photography, sculpture, three-dimensional work you're doing applies to all of these. So I would just tell you as illustrators that if you see and you feel your work is painterly, then look for painting. If you've got photography work, look for photo. Some of them will pick illustration, but you're going to see that less. That does not mean that they're not open to looking at illustrators. So it's just the way they think in the fine art world about those more traditional majors. So when you do check those out, keep that in mind. You can check out any of them by just simply clicking on them, and it'll take you right to their site. Let's see. And here's the key. Before you register, make sure that you create a top 10 plus list. This is not going to be as kind of competitive feeling as the design portfolio review. We're really confident that most of you will get the time slots you want because there's a really great proportion. But having your list ready is going to be quite important to you. So at least come up with the top 10. You max out at 8, by the way, so you can get a maximum of 8. So these are some of the individuals who are coming. I just want to give you a quick overview. Katie Tompkins is based in Providence. She's a wonderful curator and gallerist. She's come to the review for many years. She's shown RISD people and also some really established fine artists. She's also connected great to the New York scene as well. It's always important to realize that those literally in your backyard can have great benefit to you in the fine art realm. So the RISD Museum and curators from the RISD Museum will be there, and they've been participating for a number of years. On the Boston side, Carol & Sons and Joe Carroll is one of the top galleries in Boston, has shown a whole range of RISD people over the years. It's a terrific gallerist and curator. Drive-by projects, I have to tell you the two curators who run this wonderful place in Boston, they're actually based in Watertown, Beth Kantrowitz and Kathleen O'Hara, just have love RISD. They come every year. They're some of the nicest curators and gallerists you can meet. You know, residency programs are there, arts organizations like I-Beam. What's cool about I-Beam is they're really at the intersection of the digital realm and fine art. So if your work is also digitally based, this is a great organization to talk to. One of our alums, David Bogajan, who's a Brown RISD dual degree, also works at I-Beam. And he also just had a show at the Q Foundation. So Q Foundation is coming to the review as well. Invisible Exports is a gallery based out of New York City. Benjamin from Invisible Exports has been coming for years. He also participates in a lot of the big art fairs. Mana Contemporary is based in New Jersey, just across from New York. As you can see, I grabbed this from their website just the other day. They're doing a Shepherd Ferry mural installation. They have amazing collections. They also have a residency program within this organization, and they attended last year as well. We do get artists who participate. Leslie Dill has been had a number of RISD interns over the past couple of years, so she will be at the event and meeting with you. There are residency programs that have attended quite consistently. iPark is just across the border in Connecticut, and Karen Harris in our office, who's our internship manager and who you may know, had an opportunity to do a residency at iPark last May. And when she came back, it did everything a residency should do. It just was really invigorating. She's had a number of shows in Providence, so a residency might be a really good option for you to consider. Maine Media Workshops is a great year-long program that supports the photography and media and film industry. Elizabeth Greenberg is an alum of RISD who's one of the key people running this place. She's going to be coming down. I have to tell you, over the past several summers, we've had anywhere from 2 to 4 to 6 RISD people who've had internships at Maine Media Workshops. It's one of the great places to network if you're a photographer or filmmaker, because these major photographers and filmmakers come there in the summer and you work in supporting these workshops, and they're fabulous. Glenn Ruga, who founded Social Documentary Network, was also the director of the Photographic Resource Center in Boston. This publication, not only the site but Zeke magazine, is just a phenomenal publication that deals with social impact, community, and world issues and problems. So if your work is of that nature, Glenn is a really terrific person to meet with. So that is just a smattering of the 40, again, plus that are going to be there, but I wanted to give you a flavor for what the event is going to be about. So the question always is, how do I sign up? What is this process? Once again, at the Fine Art Review site, if you go to registration and click on student sign up, it will lead you to this page. If you did the design review, you saw a similar structure. What's really critical here is that you have a profile on Artworks. The next thing is to be sure how you are going to sign up and how you find us. So go through this step-by-step process so that you know exactly how to pull the registrations up. Keep in mind, and this is really important to us, tomorrow night, starting at 6, you can secure your first 4 time slots, and then it will lock. So there isn't a problem with the registration. We do that so that all of you can have a fair chance at each getting 4 for the first night. Years ago, when we didn't have that system, you might get 11, you might get 1, and we didn't like that. That's not a good situation. So we want to be sure that people have a better chance of getting their top 4 picks after the first night. Then what happens, like we did with the design review, is the next day, there's a second round of signups that will start at noon, and they'll run to midnight, and you can then get another 4. We saw this year at the design review. People who had 8 were really exhausted. They felt at the end of the day, wow, I really wish I had done 6 or 7. So 8 is ambitious. That's a lot of reviews to have. I encourage you to do that, but do realize it's pretty draining as well. But you can max out at 8 after Thursday. By the way, after you sign up, you may not realize that every reviewer is contacted and they get the signups. And the signups will include your name, obviously links to the information you have provided in Artworks, so they have a sense of who they're seeing, what major you're in, what year you're in, and that helps them to better prepare before they meet with you. We have made screenshots of the whole process, so when you scroll to that next page, you can actually review exactly how to sign up. I want to emphasize again, try to come up with a list of at least 10 of your top picks. And because this is tomorrow, you need to do this soon. Follow those how-to instructions. View that sign up. And here are the warnings. This is the technical information. When you are working in artworks, don't open up lots of windows and tabs. So at the time of registration, keep it really focused on just signing up for those time slots. So avoid a lot of those extra tabs and don't open up multiple browsers at the same time. The next warning is don't log in early, because if you think you can refresh, it won't activate until 6. You will have to log in again. So be sure that you log in right at the time and don't log in early, and that refresh situation doesn't work in reloading. And then this is the most important. If you have class, be absolutely sure that you seek permission from your faculty so that you can be at the review. One of the hopes of having the different time slots is that if you say are in class from 1 to 3, and then it's all right for you to come at 4, then you can still grab a time slot at 4 or so. But it's, again, quite important that you get permission if you are in class. So what is the event like? It's a little different than the design review if you've been there. Well, this isn't different. First of all, you'll be at the convention center, so that part is the same. People ask, well, how should I dress for this event? And kind of the added, dress like you're going to an interview. Dress up a bit, be comfortable, express your personality, but do understand that this is a pretty special interaction with individuals, again, who are running galleries and museums and artist residencies. You might have heard about this if you didn't do it, but we are doing the headshots again. For those of you who got headshots during the design review, it's taken them a little while to get them. We reached out to Rob and crew. He said as of yesterday, half of them had gone out. Next couple days, the rest will go out. So if you're waiting for your headshot, they should be coming soon. We will be doing the headshots for the fine art review as well. Now, fine artists will sometimes say, well, what do I need that for? Many of you should kind of have a headshot that is part of your bio or about at your website. It's extremely helpful. And definitely at LinkedIn, you should include a headshot, a good professional shot, even as a fine artist. So take advantage. It's free. We pay the photographers to do this, and it's a great opportunity. So just to show, and I really want to make a point about this, the feeling again is if I'm a fine artist, why should I be on LinkedIn? Not only are many arts organizations and galleries and residencies on LinkedIn, but quite a few artists are. So Anna Schulit-Haber is one of RISD's MacArthur Genius Award winners. What I love about her profile is she literally, her whole profile is about being a fine artist. So she lists her projects. Her first experience as artist, self-employed, 17 years, 11 months. I love that, and I think it's great that that is indeed her experience. She embeds work from her studio and actual artwork in this overview. She includes publications and other things that she's been a part of. And then, of course, she even has a skills section and all of her connections. So fine artists are on LinkedIn. I want to really encourage you as a fine artist to consider being on LinkedIn, and that's another reason for your headshot. So how do you show your work at this event? Obviously, just like the design review, most of you will show your work on your laptop or your iPad. Do know that you'll have Wi-Fi. I was going to say Wi-Fi, like in Europe, but you should preload your site just in case you lose your connection, because the worst thing would be to have this great opportunity and then not be able to show your site. So do consider preloading your work. You can bring original work. So if you can carry your work there, then definitely bring your work. Original work is appreciated, and you can also combine the two. Show some work on the laptop or the iPad, bring original pieces, and bounce back and forth with that. But always keep in mind that you have 20 minutes. So you know, if you've got a lot of work, you got to edit it down, and we're going to talk about the number of pieces soon. Pretty universally, curators, gallerists, artist residencies love to see sketchbooks. So do bring your sketchbooks. One thing we encourage you to do is to actually paperclip the exact pieces you want to show. because a sketchbook can take up a lot of time. They might get lost in it. So if you know there are sections you don't want them to look at or sections you want them to focus on, consider paper clipping those and recognizing that the sketchbook is contributing to the overall portfolio experience. Having your work online is incredibly valuable, not only showing the work when you're meeting with them, but to direct them to your website after they've met with you. So most of you probably have your own website. We talk about RISD portfolios a lot. It's great to throw up some work at RISD portfolios and then link it to your site so you'll get more marketing and more promotion out of that. So the access aspect of a RISD portfolios is quite helpful. I do recommend, though, when you're showing even RISD portfolios, that you curate the first 7 to 12 images that they see in the thumbnails. So you know you can shift those around and move them. Make sure that when they first open this up and you take them through it, that they're exactly the images you want to focus on during that review. If you are a person who's going to show some video, if you're in digital media or if you're in film animation video, keep the video shorter or in shorter segments. You know, a demo reel that runs about 2 minutes is kind of a standard. You know, whether it's your own website or RISD portfolios, in the fine art realm, it doesn't matter as much because it's really about your work. In the design sector, it would be different because, you know, what does the design look like? What font did you pick? What layout? So they might have pluses and minuses, but the focus again for them is on the work. Something that can really help you out in determining how you show your work is actually to see how other people have shown their work. So look at what painters are doing. You know, check RISD portfolios, do MFA painting, BFA painting, do BFA illustration for those that are painterly illustrators, do photography, do digital media, but see again what your peers are doing. And including process, which we've been talking about, showing how something has developed is very valuable. Now, bringing work in a traditional portfolio is very different at this review than it is the design review. You often aren't going to see these cases anymore. So some tips on this and showing work. Try to keep the number of pieces you focus on during the review to 7 to 12. So if you've got 30 pieces, that's probably too much for a 20-minute review. You want them to spend more time with your work, be more focused on the work. So again, whether it's on your laptop, but especially in a portfolio, keep it to about 7 to 12. This is something I bring up a lot. Think of them going through your work like a movie. Understand that the first images they see are the first impressions of you. So make sure that the first images are pieces you love, you're passionate about, you're really excited about. Think of it again like the opening sequence to a movie. Now the middle is where a lot of the narrative, the plot develops. People can get a little lost. So more supportive material can go into the middle of that progression. And this is where I feel, I sometimes call it the comet effect, which is RISD people will pack the best of their work at the front, so kind of like a comet, and then the pieces they're less sure about get stuck on the end, so they trail off again. What I would recommend is I think people really remember the last things they see. So make sure you end on a strong note. Don't put the pieces you're less sure about at the end. In fact, put them in the middle, begin strong and end strong, and it will make a stronger impression. Quality is everything. Make sure that the printouts, if you have printouts in the book, are of really high quality. Keep the portfolio clean, neat, and well organized. This is really important. I've opened up plenty of portfolios that can be really disorderly, smudges, marks, etc. Curators, gallerists really pay attention to that, so keep it well organized. Now, this is the big part. What do you say? How do you engage with these reviewers? Very simple, quite important, very typical. Begin with a handshake and really begin with a real pleasant personality. I know you're nervous when you do this. I was nervous when I did this years ago. So keep in mind that everyone is nervous, but try to be as pleasant as possible. Introduce yourself and give it a handshake. Okay, so we've been repeating it over and over again. Be sure again that you're gearing this experience to a 20-minute time frame. And prepare your pitch. So here are some things for you to talk about. First of all, consider what your own goals are as a fine artist. Do you want to get a show? Do you want to get a residency? Are you seeking a grant? Where are you going to move to after graduation? In essence, understand your goals so you can convey those goals to the person. Have a good understanding about what you do well. What are your key skills? What are your passions? What are you passionate about in your work conceptually? This is quite important. By doing good research, understand how your work relates to that gallery, to that grant, to that organization. This is the bridging factor, right? Where they understand that you did good homework and you know what they're about, who they represent. Talk about, again, don't only focus on the finished piece, often talk about how that piece came to be. What is the process? Did you go through iterations? Did you produce work, dislike it, discard it, come back to it? But understand and talk about your process. Practice the pitch, have an understanding of what you're going to say, think of it in your head. I'm someone, if I'm doing a talk, I'll read aloud to myself because the act of actually saying it is different than just thinking it, again, inside your head. We always say this. They're all there because they love RISD. They want to connect to you. They want to connect to RISD Town. So with all that nervousness that can happen, also relax. I mean, they're there for you. Keep in mind, too, that this is a really safe environment. This is an environment where they're seeing lots of people. This isn't like the weight of the world, a one-shot deal. So again, try to relax a little bit more through this process. Many people forget to ask for a business card. If they've got a postcard, a business card, try to get that in the moment. I often get asked after people come out of the room, can I go back in? We'll let you back in to go get it, but you can only be in the room when you're getting a review because we really want to keep that system flowing well. So again, try to grab the business card then when you're at the table. Okay, so we're going to go more in depth now. Here are some things to ask them. This is quite important to me. If you're showing your work on an iPad or laptop or in a good old-fashioned portfolio, ask them, how would you like to look at my work? Would you like me to go through each piece and talk about it? Or would you prefer to go through all the work, kind of get an overview, and then come back and ask me questions? This is a great way to begin. For one reason, you're honoring and asking them their preference. So you know right away if they say, oh, you know what, I love it when an artist tells me a little bit about each piece. As you go through it, you can feel really good about that. If they end up saying to you, oh, you know what, I love flipping through the whole thing and then going back, now you won't feel as awkward if you had been talking about each piece and it was dragging on, right? So this is a really good way to begin, and it shows a lot of respect to the reviewer. Then, as they go through your work, if you're not getting as much feedback as you would like, ask them, what pieces did you enjoy? Which do you think are my strongest pieces? In the same way, ask them what pieces they feel you should be working on. If they say, I really like this, but I think you need to develop it further, or I'd like to see this in a series, or these are small and wonderful, but I wonder what they would look like big. And then ask them for suggestions, again, about how your portfolio can be more directed to them, to the grant organization, to the residency, to the gallery, to the museum. This is very simple, and it may be redundant, but ask them what they look for in the artists whose work they represent. Now, they'll have wanted you to have done your homework, right, and done your research, but by asking them, that you'll hear them articulate what they value, right? And this is really important. These people are part of bigger fine art networks. So as you're talking to them, ask them what other galleries, museums, residencies, or people they would recommend you talk to. So sometimes a person will say to you, I love your work. It's not quite right for my gallery, but I know a gallery that's perfect for you. Or, boy, there's a residency program in Vermont that would be great, a great fit. Because of their knowledge base and their interaction in these professional circumstances, you can then often go to other people and say, I was at the RISD Portfolio Review for Fine Arts. This person from this gallery recommended I speak to you, and now you've got a further way of getting a foot in the door too. very personal questions. These are people who love their galleries, love their spaces, love working with artists. How long have you been doing this? How have you been involved? How has your gallery grown? Ask those kind of personal questions as part of this interaction. And of course, a lot of them have other things coming up. What shows do you have coming up? What projects? What initiatives? All of this is for you to learn more, but it's also for you to engage more. And then finally, always is there any other advice that you would give to an emerging artist that would be helpful? Many of them are going to be answering these questions throughout the day, regardless of whether you ask them, but at least this gives you a better sense of what you can be asking. So back to how you get to know the organization. Not only would you click on the website, but there are parts of the website that are very valuable. So here we pulled up one of the organizations that has participated for many years. It will be there again, the Elizabeth Foundation. A lot of them will have a mission statement, and that mission statement, especially with nonprofits and all, really gives you a deeper sense of the commitment of that organization. What are their goals? What's their history? What's their background? What does that organization value? Value in the fine arts. Who do they support? What matters to them? Are they socially focused on their issues? More and more, whether it's an individual site, a gallery, there's going to be a news section. Very helpful to read the recent news. Such and such piece was just placed in a major museum collection. So that shows you that the gallery is not only selling work out of the gallery, but they're actually working to place your work into museums as well. All these spaces are on social media. So as I said earlier, and you can see it right there, the Elizabeth Foundation is on LinkedIn. So connect to them on LinkedIn. Often on LinkedIn, you're going to be able to follow them. So if you click follow, you'll get updates on that organization through your email even. Many of them are on Facebook. So once again, if you find organizations you love and you're really connected to, then connect to them as well on Facebook, or at least look at their Facebook feeds. And as you know, Instagram has become a major player in the design and fine art world. So there's Elizabeth Foundation on Instagram as well, just as RISD is, the RISD Museum. So follow these social media footprints in order to learn more about the organizations. I have to say, in our own repertoire of things we've picked up, we haven't picked up as many leave-behinds in the fine art realm. I really want to encourage you to at least have a business card, a postcard if you can, and then if you want to print up kind of an 8.5 by 11 printout with images on it, that is also great. In this case, of course, we have one from Apparel just to kind of show how you could place some of your work. Designers obviously are really good at this. They'll make a grid and have a leave behind. The key thing is a business card is fantastic because it can go into a pocket, can go into a wallet, can go into a bag. So even if you can't get one printed soon at a place like Moo or a local printer, print it right off of your inkjet printer or laser printer, chop them up, and definitely have business cards to give out. At a lot of the companies, like Moo and Modern Postcard, you can even now get, because it's on demand, you could put your artwork on the back and put multiple pieces and then put the same contact information on the other side. At these sites, they'll often have inspiration, so you can see different, if you click on examples of business cards. I did fine art at Moo, I did fine art at Modern Postcard, and it came up with a whole mixture of illustration, photography, a little bit of painting, but definitely have a leave behind. The great thing with a postcard is really simple. Just have your work dominate, put your name on it, and make sure you have your web address, an email, and maybe a phone number. That's all you need on these materials. Now, follow-up is really essential. Let's see. First, I have to say, a thank you note, a good old-fashioned thank you note. If you can get a mailing address and send this through the mail and handwrite a note, it's a gift, because nobody does this anymore. And it really shows you went the extra time to find an image, write this out, and to express your thanks. Now, unlike this, I would really encourage your thank you note to be one of your pieces. Because how much better if they met with you, you had a great rapport with them, that you print up one of your pieces, fold it in half, write the thank you note, and mail them that. That way they're going to really connect your work with the thank you note. And then I know we talk a lot about LinkedIn, but a lot of them are on LinkedIn. So make sure you look them up and see if you can connect with them. One of the best times for you to connect with them is after a portfolio review, when they've just met you, because you can say, in the personal note you make, I just wanted to thank you again for spending time with me at the review. Your thoughts and insights were really helpful. I'd like to connect to you. That's the perfect foot in the door to do that. And then another thing that I think a lot of us drop the ball on, we make one point of contact, we don't hear from somebody, and we kind of feel like, oh, did they like my work? Maybe I'm not right for their gallery. People are just incredibly busy, so just wipe out those feelings and just focus on the fact that you had a great interaction and keep in touch with them. Follow up in 3 months, follow up in 6 months, and make sure that you stay on their radar. At a lot of these places, they're often waiting when you will be right for a group show, when your work has developed further. So it's critical that you look at this long term and not just as a one-time endeavor. We are more than glad to meet with you after the review, or I'm going to show you in a moment before the review. Talk to us, keep that in mind. I've often said you couldn't meet with nicer people and people who care this much, so keep that in mind as well. Now, if you're graduating, and I just said this in illustration in a class I was in, we're here for you after you graduate. So don't feel like it just falls off a cliff. We're here for you for the rest of your life, which is good. Now, over the next several days, we're going to do extended drop-ins. So starting on April 19th through the 21st, between 9 and 3, you don't need any appointment. Just come to the Career Center, and we can meet with you and talk about the Fine Art Review, check out your website, look at your work, check out your resume. So we are here again over those next several days, almost the entire day without an appointment if you want to meet with us. And that is this overview. Hopefully, do you all feel this gives you a better sense of both signing up, what to expect, what to say?